going on, family? What is going on? How is everybody doing? Please get your libations. Please get everything you need, because we're going to get into it very, very shortly today, because we got a lot to get through. Thank you, fam. Thank you, fam, for all the birthday wishes and everything. I appreciate it. Thank you for all of that. Please, please, please hit that like button while you're here. Hit that like button for me. Please also hit, you can go to subscribetobrown.com to just add your name to my mailing list. I don't spam. I rarely even send out anything, but I like to have that. And if possible, I just, if you can donate, go to donatebrown.com. You can also go to patreon.com/ycarnell. If you just happened to be on the broadcast and you didn't get the bell, make sure that you have the bell. Make sure you hit that little thing that looks like a bell. Hit that stuff. Do that YouTube stuff for me. And that'll be wonderful, 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 wonderful. Make sure you share and make sure you are prepared, fam. I have to announce the date for the book club, but I'm going to tell you already that just so you can get started, I have to figure out what that date is going to be. But When Affirmative Action is White is going to be our next book club book, because we talk so much about it and we don't deal with it, and we don't talk about it. And part of that, what I try to do in terms of, I tell everybody that Breaking Brown has first been a political education project. You have to have a political education project before you can do anything else. So we're going to do that book, and I will put the image up for the book, and all of that good stuff. But we're going to do that book, and I'll announce the date. But it'll be at least probably a month and a half, so you have time. But I just wanted to put that out, that When Affirmative Action Was White is going to be our next book. I will set the date pretty soon, but don't rush yourself, because I'm not gonna, I like to give over a month to read a book, even though this book isn't very, very long. So let's get into it, fam. Hit that like button for me, and let's really get into it. One of the things that we have to deal with, family, one of the things that we have to deal with all the time, one of the things, yes, somebody said I got my copy. Most people have already, some of y'all have already read it, because I mentioned it a lot. But I want to go back, because I realize there are people who haven't seen it, who haven't read it, and we're going to all get the foundation, because foundation is important. And part of the reason that you're going to need that when you start going up against these people, regardless of who they are, whether they're right-wing Republican or they're Pan-Africanists who put up a bunch of words and talk about the continuity of the structure of the black radical tradition, you're going to need to just gut people. You got to learn how to do it. You got to learn how to do it quick. So some of that stuff is good for that. So listen, what we're talking about today, though, fam, I have to talk about allies. And a lot of people have given me questions before. People, well, is Yvette a right winger? Is she a left winger? What is she? I'm independent, and let me tell you why. I had spent a lot of time as a Democrat, worked for Democratic candidates, worked for the DNC, did all that stuff. Then I went further to the left. I had subscribed to this trash. Jacobin, I had subscribed to it, paid a subscription, and I considered myself much further rooted in the left. Like I'm an authentic leftist now. I believe in big programs, because I do believe in a robust welfare state. But see, one of the things that you have is, once you go, you realize that there's a lot of anti-ADOS-ness in all of this. There are a lot of people who are anti-ADOS in all of this, so I am going to root myself in policies that are ADOS. I've never been Republican, I've never been conservative, so it's easy for me not to root myself there. But I'm not going to root myself in Democrats anymore, and I'm not going to root myself in the left anymore. I'm going to root myself in whatever agenda is good for ADOS, American Descendants of Slavery. That is my rooting now. And that's how I want all of us to be rooted, and I'm going to explain to you, I'm going to show you very clearly as I can. We're going to discuss this article. Now, this article is written by one of the founding editors, founder of Jacobin, right? And one of the things that you see when you have this person on the left. Now, understand something. I'm gonna lay you a little framework before I get to the good stuff. I'm gonna lay you a little framework about who this person is, about who he is, right? With Sunkara. Sankara. I can't talk half the time. But listen, I'm gonna lay you a framework about who he is And how now mind you, this person never reached out to me. As far as I know, he never reached out to Dr. Sandy Darity. He didn't reach out to anybody before going to the Guardian, which is not even based here, and letting everybody know that, listen, the left in this country is not in favor of reparations, as if you matter. Now, let me just, what I'm going to do, we're going to use this conversation. I like to frame things. We're going to use this conversation to talk about allies. And to talk about the fact that we have no friends. And we can do that through the lens of this publication and through the lens of what he wrote in this article. To fight racism, we need to think beyond reparations. Who is we? So let's understand, before we really talk about that, let's understand who Sunkara is. Sunkara was born in the United States to parents of Indian ancestry who migrated to the U.S. from Trinidad a year before he was born. Okay, so hold on. You're let me get this straight. Let me get this straight, Sunkara. You are Indian. Your parents immigrated from Trinidad, but they Indian, and so you feel that you have the right to tell me that I don't get reparations. But let's go on. Let's go on. This article, we're going to go through it. Don't worry. A young publisher takes Marx into the mainstream. Now, this is going to be very important. Pay close attention, friend. Put a pin in it. Like I always say, put a pin in it. When Bhaskar Sunkara was growing up in Westchester County, we're going to come back to Westchester County and what it looks like. Remember, we talked about Ocasio-Cortez growing up in Yorktown, trying to act like she was Jenny from the block. We're going to talk about it. But when Bhaskar Sunkara was growing up in Westchester County, he likes to say, he dreamed of being a professional basketball player. Child, don't nobody care. Okay, now, this is what he said. Now, this is what he said in this same article about how this started. I had no right to start a print publication when I was 21. He said in an interview in a cafe near his apartment in Bedford, I don't even know Brooklyn. Listen, looking back, I see it as a moment of creative ignorance. You have to have enough intelligence to execute something like this, but be stupid enough to think it could be successful. Listen, but you also have to have money. This is Sunkara. This is the man who's telling us that we can't have reparations. Your people just got here. But we can't have. Understand, Westchester County, you started this at 21. We know enough about wealth. We know enough about all of that to know what kind of things had to fall into place for you to be able to do what you did. We understand what kind of stuff had to fall into place for you to be able to make that happen. We know that American life isn't just about a dream. I don't care what you're saying. If you come out and tell me it is, then I know you're lying. But this is the introduction to the man who is telling us that we can't have reparations, as if he gets to talk, as if he gets to say. Let me tell you something. And the funniest thing is that when I hear people, these other reparations groups, talk about how hard they push for reparations, my question becomes why aren't y'all going at this dude? Why aren't y'all going at other people on the left who are torpedoing reparations? If you are a reparations group, how do you let this guy tell you that you can't do what you do? I know why. A lot of these people we talk about on the left and they on the left, our black left, y'all are too in bed. Y'all are in bed, and I'm not opposed to it because I'm not on the Green Party platform. It says reparations, but it's a very white organization, and we've had people talk about how they've been run out of there because a lot of white people trying to tell them what to do on the left, right? So I don't know how you can say that you are in favor of reparations, but when somebody who is a founding editor and a founder of a magazine on the left comes out, this isn't some right-wing magazine, and says we're not doing reparations, I don't know what kind of advocacy you consider yourself to be doing if you are too much of a coward to come out and eviscerate this person and this idea. Now let's go. I'm going to talk. Speaking of evisceration, I am going to take point by point and talk and a few points to show that the Guardian article was garbage. I don't even know how it got published. It was silly and unserious. So let me just say this. Let's just go to first things first. This is the first quote that I'm bringing up. In this context, the discussion of reparations sparked by Ta-Nehisi Coates' 2004 essay, The Case for Reparations, and revived in the early days of the 2020 Democratic primary. It was revived long before that. You don't know anything. Is welcome. It's good that the distribution of wealth is being discussed as a way to fight racism rather than merely battles over representation and interpersonal biases. Read that again, family. It's good that the distribution of wealth is being discussed as a way to fight racism rather than merely battles over representation and bias. I don't even think you are a smart person. Listen, family, reparations is a debt. A debt is a debt. We're not trying to use this redistribution to fight racism. That is not the point of reparations. There is a debt owed. It was unpaid labor, and then it was systemic and accrued disadvantage that happened after that has left us as a bottom caste in this country. Your people are from Indian ancestors. You know about caste, don't you? Like, listen, this is the work that we have to do. He just said that this is what it's about. I don't understand how in Cobra and the people who telling me they've been doing grassroots work all this time, how are you not doing this work? This is the work. If you really want to do the work, put your uniform on, or you just want to go at ADOS. Are you going to go at ADOS, or are you going to go at the people who are against reparations? I want you to decide what the work is, because y'all coming at me, and he was in the Guardian talking about how we shouldn't do reparation. Y'all aren't doing any of the work. You don't know anything that's going on. You just got on Twitter last week. Why don't you just understand that you have passed the baton? It's here. If you don't want to do the work, that's fine. I understand you don't do the work. You haven't been doing the work. And you a tree, you know a tree by his fruit. Y'all haven't bore any fruit. We started this conversation, and I'm going at him because he's wrong. He's dead wrong. This is a debt that is owed. And the reason the racial wealth gap is an expression of a debt that's owed to ADOS. It is an expression of 400 years of oppression that started with slavery and went through Jim Crow and Reconstruction. I'm not trying to fight racism with that. A debt is a debt. How hard is that for you to understand? You went to George Washington University. Is it that hard for you to understand what a debt is? I don't think it is. Listen. I'm going to go through the rest of these points, but understand what happens with this essay is that it's sloppy. It's a sloppy essay. It's not a research essay or a piece. What happens is people think that they can talk to us any kind of way and say anything to us and just throw some garbage out there to let us know that they're not doing reparation. They're not with it. You read all this Marx stuff. You did all this stuff about how you started reading Marx in the cradle or whatever this garbage is you were talking about. I don't care. You don't matter to me except for the fact that you're in my way. So let me just put up the next thing, since you don't understand what a debt is. This is the next thing that he says. But reparations, let me bring this up a little bit. But reparations can't adequately address racial inequality, can't be effectively administered, and there is still no mass base of Black Americans pushing for it. We have more effective and popular ways to finally turn America into an egalitarian democracy. Listen. Reparations can't adequate. What do you know? Like, you're not an economist. You don't know. What do you know? What did you major in at George Washington? What kind of expertise do you have to tell me what can address racial inequality? Listen, racial inequality is addressed in the racial wealth gap. Nothing addresses that but reparations. Your little universal programs don't address that at all. But I know why you're playing this little slick game, and we're going to get to that in a minute. But listen, there is no mass base of Black Americans. This is the first time. Understand that ADOS is the first time that you have seen people mobilize. I'm talking about make this a central argument. I'm not talking about a quote. I'm not talking about somebody said, but make every Democrat running for president has been having to answer how they feel on reparations. As for you to say there's no mass base during the first time that we have done this movement, lets me know you have no access to ADOS. There are no American Black people in your life who are not like people who are maybe they have some other stuff going on. They're immigrants like you. You have no ADOS in your life who can tell you what is really going on. You have no access to us. You are not around us. And that's why you do not speak for us. You don't get to tell us what is going on in our community. When the last time you been here? Just asking. Since you got so much to say. And this is along the same lines. But even if we agree this is important work must be finished, that we must have a new reconstruction. A new reconstruction without money? How you have a new reconstruction without money? How you have where they do that at? We must have a new reconstruction. Why not include reparations as part of it? The first case is the technical difficulty of his ministry. Again, he don't have no expertise. He's just talking. Why we be letting this man talk? Like well, let me just read this. The first case. The first case is the technical difficulty of administering such a program. When it comes to the necessary reparations for the victims of colonialism, wait, this ain't colonial. What? Okay, we know how to identify those affected and administer redress. The state of France can pay the state of Haiti for its historic crimes, and the state of Haiti can use the wealth of debt or forgiveness to spur the development of that imperialism stunted. Listen. Stop lying. Just stop it. Stop it. We're all tired of the lies. Just be an honest person for a little while. America has done reparations. We know how to do it. It's just that nobody wants to do it. And we do have a mass movement. We have ADOS for the first time. This is a mass movement. Stop being so dishonest. This is blatantly dishonest what you're doing. If America didn't know how to do this, we wouldn't have done it for other groups in this country. Everybody knows how to do reparations. It's just that nobody knows how to do it or wants to do it for us, including you and your little leftist Jacobin. It's not that nobody knows, and it's not that anybody. And this goes to that point. Criteria. But what kind of bureaucratic process would be necessary to identify who gets to receive? Who gets to receive the reparations Coach supports? It can't simply be race, because recent immigrants from Africa wouldn't qualify, nor would the descendants of slaves held in the French or British colonies. Would we need a new bureau to establish ancestry? Is that overhead and the work it will involve for Black Americans to prove to qualify worth it compared to creating a universal program that will help the most marginalized? You're a liar. You studied history at George Washington, and that gives you no expertise in economics. So you studied history at George Washington, and so you have no expertise in economics, and you're trying to make an economic argument, and you did not consult with any economists in that article. Because even if you had talked to Dr. Darity, what he would have told you is that there is a process, there is a criteria in place, a criteria that he agrees with. And if you had been serious about engaging that work, what you would have understood is that you would have engaged in and said, well, I want to change this criteria. I don't know if I like this criteria. Maybe this criteria instead of this criteria. But you just snick something that you don't understand. But I bet he can tell you everything about what Marx said on his 28th birthday. You can tell me everything about stuff you care about. The reason you can't tell me about ADOS is because you don't care about ADOS. And I understand why. I really understand why. I understand why we don't matter to you. I understand that melanin is not a gateway for community. I get it. But you should not be this dishonest. There's no way to talk about reparations and how reparations could be structured and how it could be distributed by not talking to someone who has an expertise in that field. People have written about this. You didn't consult any of that information. You're a lazy, lazy person in terms of how you speak of ADOS. And that's because nobody cares about ADOS but ADOS. But that's going to change, because we're not going to join your little leftist brigade if you're not on board with reparations. You will be just screaming in the dark by yourself, and you and your other little friends. That's what's going to happen. We are not doing this with you. And here's something else. The dude tried to bring MLK into it in the time during Reconstruction emerged during the Civil Rights Movement of the 1960s that finally won formal equality. Formal equality, that's an odd phrase. Anyway, for Black Americans, and changed the United States for the better. It fell, however, short of Martin Luther King Jr.'s hope, not just of integrating the lunch counter, but making sure that there was money to be able to buy a burger and a steak. His route to fulfilling this dream was through labor-based coalitions and the fight for an expansive welfare state. Listen, there's so much that you don't understand. First of all, Martin Luther King, at the time he was assassinated, was pivoting. He said, one of the things that he said was, it's time to get our check. And he had nothing against coalitions, right? But understand that was also a different time. That was a different era. And he didn't have any of the data that we have now. You cannot use Martin Luther King, a man who understood the Homestead Act and understood how everyone else had gotten wealth and we had got locked out of wealth. You cannot use that man to make an argument against reparations. Do you know how dastardly that is? How nefarious that is? How I see you through that? And understand one other thing. Here's what Darity said in terms of, like I said, we can all agree or disagree. And he can agree or disagree, but this is the criteria that Darity laid out in the Professor Darity and Frank in the economics of reparations, the criteria for eligibility. This is what they said. An individual would have to provide reasonable documentation of at least one ancestor enslaved in the United States, and they would need to demonstrate they have identified as Black, African American, colored, or Negro on established legal documents for at least 10 years prior to the onset of the program. It's on ADOS101.com, Roadmaps to Reparations. You don't know that because you didn't do the work. You don't know that because you don't care. You don't know that because you're lazy. You don't know that because you know that you wouldn't benefit from it. You know that you wouldn't get no reparations check because your people ain't from here. You're selfish and you want me to align with you by what right? Why would I do that? I would never align with you. You are my enemy just as much as the people on the right are who are opposed to reparations because America just make everybody the same. I'm not with you. We're going to go our own way and hold ourselves accountable to our own community. I don't owe you anything. I don't owe you a thing. A debt is a debt. You can't say it's too hard when you didn't even do serious research. You're unserious in how you talk. And we talk about, well, who is Black? We already told you. And then here's the next part that you really have to see. This is the tale of the whole article. Could we be in a situation where we're asking, say, a Black Jamaican descendant of slaves, not in America, we're talking about descendants of chattel slaves in America. Your claim, if you're a Jamaican, your claim is not against America. You got to take that up over there. But let me start over. Could we be in a situation where we're asking, say, a Black Jamaican descendant of slaves or a poor Latino immigrant to help fund a program that they can't benefit from? Reparations wouldn't be quite such a zero-sum game, but it would be hard to shake the perception. Is this really the basis that we can build a majoritarian coalition? Oh, isn't that a shame? Gosh. Poor immigrants have to pay for reparations. They might not like it. Oh. You came here voluntarily. You can leave too. You can leave at any time. If you don't want to pay reparations, if you came here voluntarily, listen, when you come to a country, you take on that country's debts and responsibility. Reparations is a debt. If you don't like it, there's a plane smoking every day, baby, bye. If you don't want to do it, there are bombs that we use that I don't really want to pay for. I don't really want to give subsidies to a lot of these big agribusinesses. I don't want to do that, but I can't do a la carte, and you can't either. If you want to leave, leave. If you want to go, go. We won't miss you because you were never an ally. If you're not trying to support reparations, you were never an ally. But let me tell you what I'm going to do. Since you're talking about these people can't support or shouldn't support anything because it's not benefiting them, let me tell you what I'm going to do. I don't support DACA. Don't benefit me. Don't benefit ADOS. I'm not going to listen. This is our call to action. We are supporting only stuff that benefits us. That's what they're doing. Well, they don't. Well, how would you tell a poor Jamaican and a poor Latino? Okay, I'll tell you what. We're going to play the same game, Playboy. We're playing the same game. We're going to play it together. I'm not supporting anything that doesn't that doesn't benefit ADOS. Boom. Fair is fair. Because you don't get to tell me, what I get to do and what I don't get to do. And listen, you talk about taxes. Here's another part. This is from ADOS 101. Reparations can be paid for by the U.S. government through taxation or borrowing. Using modern monetary theory, you could use first foreign reparations and the subsequent tax revenue generated by spending would pay for the cost. America could also fund reparations and proceed to hold jointly liable all involved African nations. Oh, we don't want to talk about that, do we? That traded slaves to American shores in mass, and Great Britain, whom was in control of America from 1619 to 1776, and was among the main beneficiaries of the cotton produced after America's independence. There's a lot of ways to do this. Why don't you just be honest and say, listen, I'm not benefiting, so I don't want to do it. I don't want to pay this debt. Just say it. Just be honest about who you are and what you believe. Stop frauding your way through like life. That's the discussion. This discussion what I just read, this comes from an economist. And I don't owe you DACA. DACA's not a debt. I don't owe you anything. America doesn't owe you anything. But you want us to stand by DACA and stand by immigrants when that's not a debt. When you want to stand by my debt, I will not do it. I will not do it. We are finished. If you are opposed to reparations, you're trying to give us universal programs in place of, we are finished. Listen, understand something. All this stuff he says, when he gets into this, he starts talking about Medicare for all and a jobs guarantee. And I'm not going to read that because it's trash. But let me just say this. Let me just say one thing. After reparations, I'm not even opposed to a jobs guarantee. I'm not opposed to it. But you have a debt. I consider slavery America's original sin. Somebody told me, well, I consider it the Native Americans. The Native Americans can make their claim. And they have been making their claim. The Native Americans know how to exclude people. Anybody just can't run up with melanin and say I'm Native Americans. We could learn something from that. But what I will say is that they can make their claim. But this is my claim. And what I will say to you is this. I'm not giving up that claim for anybody. And we don't owe DACA anything. I don't owe you a DACA. I don't owe you DACA support. I don't owe migrants at the border anything. But America owes us something very beneficial. You came here, if you come here voluntarily. You see these people have been scamming. And you remember a while back, he's only 29. I understand he's saying this, I think the thing said he's like 29, right? So understand that what we have, these people have been playing a game. And like, it's not just him. These people have been playing a game with us. And we have not been hip to the game. So what do you mean? Do you all remember I had a show and I talked about immigrants and the benefits of having a homeland to run back to? So when Trump did the whole America's S-hole thing, I think this was around that time, he tweeted this out. Do you think immigrants would come to this S-hole country if it didn't make economic sense? There's not an unlimited amount of jobs and there won't be an unlimited amount of people. Much of my family came for a couple of years and then got the F out. F back to Trinidad. That's the benefit of having a homeland. These people are cunning. I don't know. And we have to begin to understand that con. And begin to understand that con, what that con looks like. So what you have in terms of slavery is you have America's original debt that rooted the country and made everyone's life possible. Like we made your life possible. We made you as a brown person possible. The reason the KKK ain't running up in your yard right now is because of us. And you took to the pages of how you repaid us was to go into the pages of the Guardian and tell us we can't have reparations. And you want me to think you're an ally? You are an enemy. You are not an ally. By what right? And people say, well, he likes a job guarantee. Listen to me. Listen to me. I'm going to tell you something. When my mother was young, she worked as a maid for a white family. Okay? ADOS woman worked for a maid, white family. Fine. If you just get a jobs guarantee and you don't get that debt paid, you could be doing that again. Like that's not a move forward. You will get a job it's a jobs guarantee, paying 20, you will be crowded into this space again, making $22,000 a year cleaning toilets and bathtubs again. We'll be back to 1955. Are you insane? No. You have to tell people, why don't you let the new immigrants, why Bashkar ain't cleaning the toilet? Why I gotta always be the one to go back to do this kind of menial labor? No. And we're gonna talk about you and how, and listen, people gotta start telling me about their life. Whatever you are or whoever you are, you got to start telling me about how you got there and what made that possible. I need to understand what made your life possible, because nobody is answering questions that need to be answered. Nobody is answering questions that need to be answered. How have we let this man see? Let me say something before I'm going to get to an article in a minute, in 1 second. But I have to ask a question. How have we let this man, who is just brown, melanin, speak for us? See, if he was white, everybody would be on him like, what do you mean? What are you saying? But because he's brown, he kind of gets to operate in our space. By what right, people? Do we have no self-respect? But let me just go one step further in terms of who he is. We need to have a conversation about that as well. Now, if you get a chance, paulsowers.com, check this out. Fuel for the Journey, Bashkar, Sunkara, Black Exclusion and Reparations. Because there was some interesting stuff in there, and he responded to it, but he just said, there's some stuff in here that's inaccurate. You got to do better than that. That's a dodge. Whenever somebody says there are inaccuracies, that's a dodge. Because they're not going to tell me specifically what's wrong. Don't just tell me, he said, there was some stuff in there about his early life, and he said, we rented a lot. I don't know what you're talking about, but that's not an answer. Because to rent, people think, see, part of the problem, let me slow down. Part of the problem when we talk about this guy, he's Asian, he's not even African or anything. But part of the problem when we talk about people, we tend to view them through the lens of us, and they take advantage of that. So he'll say something like, I rented. But you rented where? And what kind of area and what kind of neighborhood? Or he'll say, my parents worked late nights. But doing what did they do? Because from what I understand, they're Hillary Clinton supporters now. I don't know, but that's from what I understand. And that they're going, So renting, it's not the same. When we talk about renting, we mean couldn't get no house. We go through some stuff. We have ADOS life. That's not what he's saying. But there's some very interesting things in this article. So one of the things that you see, I'm just moving something real quick while I'm talking. I know this is a lot, but you have to understand that about the Westchester, when you talk about Westchester, and he says himself that he was one of the least wealthiest people. His family was among the least wealthy. And he calls it low income, but that's not really true in Westchester for the most part. And then in another New York Times article that I put up earlier, he said he was middle income. And so these people are scamming, because when you look at the income in Westchester, and when you look how they exclude it based on race. So let me just read this from the article really quick. Sunkara was born and raised in the village of Pleasantville, New York, which, when the lawsuit was initially filed in 2006, and there was a lawsuit filed against this community for being racist. We talked about covenant deeds. They had all kind of exclusions for, guess who? ADOS. They had all kind of exclusions for black people, right? Now this Westchester place this is where he grew up. This is where he grew up. Okay, now let's start again. Sunkara was born and raised in the village of Pleasantville, New York, which, when the lawsuit was initially filed in 2006, had an African-American population of 0.0%. Stop. Full stop for 1 second. Why were you want to talk about all this leftist stuff? Did you live in this area? Just answer the question. I'm not making, listen, if you want to answer it, just answer the question. Did you live in a community with no black people? And why did you do it? Why did you engage, or why did your family, if it's true, I'm asking the question. If it's true, why did you engage in anti-blackness? Because that is anti-blackness, to live in a place with 0.0% is anti-blackness. Why did you do that? And why are you calling yourself a leftist? Why aren't you a Republican? But let me finish it. It is referenced explicitly in Beveridge's sworn declaration. And like many jurisdictions in Westchester County, it appears to have remained particularly keen on preserving the broader region's rich history of enforced separation of black people. In Richard Rothstein's book, The Color of Law, A Forgotten History of How Our Government Segregated America, the author recounts the origins and pervasiveness of the area's racist housing ethos. A survey of 300 developments built between 1935 and 1947 in Queens, Nassau, and Westchester counties, he writes, found that 56% of racially restrictive covenants found that 56% had racially restrictive covenants. Of the large subdivisions, those with 75 or more units, 85% had them. Now remember, people, the restrictive covenants were what made it to where no matter who we were as ADOS, we couldn't live in this community. This community is for white people and people who can access whiteness, like South Asians who come here and can access whiteness in a way that we can't. Okay? It says 56%, 85%. Nicole Haddon-Jones, in her article, Soft Segregation, how the feds failed to integrate Westchester County, puts it more pithily. As the Great Migration brought thousands of black Southerners to New York City in the 20th century, Westchester's towns and cities snatched up the welcome mats. So wait a minute, your people, it snatched up the welcome mat for us who have been there, who have been in this country over 400 years. But your people were there? Just answer the question. If I'm wrong, why don't you tell me I'm wrong? Why don't you get in specifics? Just don't say that there's inaccuracies in here. There's inaccuracies here. So I think we have to understand what we're saying. Just like Kamala. Understand that you got this Indian heritage. And understand that these covenants are on purpose. They're meant to lock us out of middle class life. You got to go somewhere else. And that's how ghettos were created. And so your Indian parents who went to Trinidad but are really Indian, they were able to go there and access that white life through anti-blackness. You access the white life through anti-blackness when everything you got was built on us having done the work for you to even be here. You can only talk because of us. You have a magazine that you were able to get at 21 because of us. Because of rights we fought for. And your family, did you live here? Like, answer the question. Answer these. Did you live in a community that had no black people? When you went to George Washington University, did you come out of a white community where your family accessed anti-blackness and access whiteness? You plugged into whiteness, and then did you go to George Washington and take a diversity space? Just because you were brown? These are questions that I need answers to. And nobody's forcing them. But you don't listen. You don't open your mouth on reparations no more. First of all, you don't know enough. Second of all, you don't get to tell me whether or not I have a debt. Bones buried here, going back generations. You don't have it. You don't have the lineage to have this conversation. Go somewhere, sit down, and shut up, please. Your people moved from. Did your family move from Trinidad to a place with 0 black people? Isn't that anti-black? Like, you were in Trinidad and you moved. What is it? And if it wasn't 0, tell me what the percentage was. Answer the questions. And it looks to me like if they did do that, move from Trinidad to a place with no black people, it seems like that's a purposeful act. That they were making an anti-black move. That they looked specifically for a place with like not a lot of black people. I don't care whether they rented or owned. And then they eventually did build up assets. If you read the article, they built up assets. Like, they built up assets, not just one asset, not just a home, but there's like a complex or something else. They were able to accrue all kinds of assets because they accessed that whiteness and that social capital that we haven't been able to access for 400 years because of oppression. So your people came here and accessed something that was built by ADOS. And then access that, and then access whiteness through, and your people access whiteness through anti-blackness, and then you come here to tell us we can have reparations. Is that what's really going on? Come on, tell me about your car. I want to know. I really want to understand. So we're cut out from accessing these kind of property gains and the equity that comes with it. But he gets to access it. So we're cut out with covenant deeds and all that stuff from accessing that kind of property in that kind of area. He gets access to it, but he gets to access brownness in terms of diversity and reparations of all that. How come y'all don't understand that he's a white person? See, let me tell you something. This is the problem of melanin. This is the problem of seeing everything through the prism of melanin. You don't understand when brown people are racist. If you have to perceive and understand and see things through the context of melanin, then you see brown people as like your allies and your family, and you don't understand when they are racist and when they are engaged in anti-blackness. And when I say racism, I'm talking about racism in terms of ADOS, because we are the bottom in this country. Don't give me no more articles about blacks and Latinos. Latinos are edging us out in wealth, and we've been here 400 years, and y'all just started coming here in 1965. We the bottom. When you talk about racism, and all you academics out there, I'm gonna trash you if you keep making these articles and writing these studies where you use Latinos to mask the failure of ADOS, and you put us together as brown people. Well, Latinos and ADOS have a hard time getting loans. Well, no, they don't have as much a hard time as we do, but they just got here last year or 40 years ago. Come on, we've been here 400 years. Put us in two separate categories. What is wrong with it? There is no solidarity through melanin. I don't know how I got to say it. I don't know how many times I have to say it. He may as well be, this man is a white man. And you don't see it because he's brown. No, this is whiteness. This is what it is. So you get to start a magazine. And how did we start that magazine? Well, it's very interesting. You know, when he described his family, I talked about that as some of the least wealthy. How many of y'all have ever described your family as the least wealthy? It's a pretty affluent suburb he says he grew up in. Right? But then when Antonio challenged him on Twitter, he said, well, I rented most of my... That don't mean nothing. That don't mean nothing. Stop dodging. Stop being evasive. And here's what he said. He says, this is about the Guardian article. And this is from the same article, the paulsauer.com site. You know, he says, which is what makes Sunkara's most recent commentary on the issue of reparations in the Guardian so totally objectionable, because his life in America simply does not exist in any recognizable way without the fact of that manufactured black failure. Jacobin, whatever, arguably does not exist without that black failure. Sunkara's parents' names both appear on Jacobin's Press LLC's business license filing, with his dad listed as the company principal and the company address being listed as an apartment that the family owns in the Bronx. Come on. Come on. So wait a minute. So wait a minute. Hold on one second. Am I to understand this right? Read that clearly, please. Am I to understand this right? You got to answer for it. If it's not true, you got to get specific. Nobody's ever called you to account. You want to get out here and run your mouth about reparations? I want to hear the truth. Let's do some investigation. I want to know the truth. Did your parents pay for you at 21 to be able to do this? Did they pay for you? They had to. Who has money at that age? So they pay. So they hook you up. So understand what this means. You have to understand what this means, family. This immigrant family was able to secure wealth and assets at a level that we have not secured in 400 years, even though we paved the way for them to be here. And they turn around and tell us that we don't get reparations. And they access what they access through anti-blackness, through racial covenants. So they come here, get the assets that we couldn't get, live where we couldn't live. Right? And then use that power to go in the Guardian and say they don't get reparations. As if you matter. As if you get a vote. I just want to know. Address it. Were there 0 blacks in your town? These are things I need to know. You're only able to talk because of us. And I have to know, like, you know, there have been articles about the donations that you've gotten from the Jewish community. And that's fine. I have no problem with that. And I have no problem with the Jewish community getting their reparations from all these people. But would you tell them that? You just feel like you can talk to us because we're the bottom? Is that what that means? I'm just trying to understand, because the color of law, if you all haven't read it, kind of makes it clear. And you see it with this, like, why fake being black for med school? Yeah, everybody's accessing all kinds of stuff through us. And we so lost we don't even see it. We say we all brown. No, he white. He just got a tan or something. It's just melanin. Melanin is a physical phenotype. It's a feature. It don't mean nothing. Doesn't mean anything. They probably paid off your student loans with their money and their apartment complex and everything they bought. Oh, you got it good, and you get to go just talk your Marxist talk. Oh, ain't that special? And nobody ever challenges you because you say a lot of words. It's just like the people Pan-African. They say a lot of words where there's no continuity and historical. That's a lot of words. Don't mean nothing. You ain't done nothing. Just hush. And this is, if you want to know more about Westchester and what happened there, you can read this article, Soft Segregation, How the Feds Failed to Integrate Westchester. That's where you're from, isn't it? Mr. Jacobin. Jacobin, is that where you're from? Nobody ever made you answer for this? And before anybody says anything, let me just say, I mean, you know, like I said, this is Kamala too. This kind of brownness, Indianness. I have a Jamaican dad who ain't really down with me, who called me out, who are accessing politics and our birthright as citizens of this country through politics, right? But let me just say one other thing. This isn't something that just happens. This isn't something that just happens on the left. I mean, we saw this very clearly. We saw this, you know, we've always let this happen. How many times has Dinesh D'Souza trashed us on the right? Like, I am thankful this week, this was about Obama, to remember that America is big enough and great enough to survive a grown-up Trayvon in the White House. Like, how do we even let him speak for us? Like, by what right do you even get to put Trayvon's name in your mouth? He was talking about Trayvon Martin, and this is him again. He's a clown, but he got to get away with this for as long as he did. And everybody knows he's a racist and all that, but he got to get away from this for as long as he did because he's brown. You can take the boy out of the ghetto. Watch this vulgar man show. Like, understand, like, boy isn't something that was used for Kenyans and white people, and this is something that has been used in this country for ADOS. That's what he was talking about. We let Dinesh D'Souza talk about how slaves were treated pretty well. We let him, he trashed Rosa Parks. So the point I'm trying to make is this. This is not something that begins Anti-ADOSness is not just something that happens on the right. It's not something just happens on the left. It happens everywhere. And we have to, the way that we confront that is to understand that we have a specific agenda. Like, you have to understand when we talk about the covenant, we talk about the racial covenant, right? And we talk about, you know, when we talk about this guy and his family and the racial covenants in Westchester, understand that part of the reason why he's brought in, or his family is brought in as people of color, is because so that nobody can bring a racial covenant lawsuit. We got the Indians over here, Trinidad and whatever. We got them over here. We don't bring no lawsuit. We got brown people. So we don't get to bring a lawsuit because you moved in over here and you just as anti-black as them. But nobody sees that because you're brown. Because we're talking about politics through the prism of melanin. They say we have this brown Asian family. They came here in 1989. We're very diverse. We just don't like Negroes. But we like them over there. They're nice. They're good people. They're not like the Negroes. The Negroes who built this country with free labor. We don't want them here. We got these people. They act just like us. They white people. They just darker. Dipped in something. Dipped in caramel or something. I don't know. Dipped in something. They're not ADOS. And we never tell brown people that you don't get to speak for us just because you have melanin. Like, you don't get to to go out and say, like, this is the thing. No. You don't get to do that. You don't get to do this thing where you play with socialism for a little while and, you know, it's good for business and all that great stuff. And it's so exciting. It's so exciting. No. We there's a debt owed. That's it. You didn't call me. You didn't call Dad. You didn't call anybody. You just wrote some garbage. And it's garbage. Like, nobody's ever... I don't think... We have not held these people accountable for how they have accessed whiteness through anti-blackness. And what that means in terms of there being no solidarity. There's only solidarity through one thing. Before I go to break, understand this. First of all, this is why ADOS is important. This is why what we're doing is important. But I want you to understand one thing. People who access whiteness through anti-blackness are not allies. People are not allies just because they share a melanin trait. That is not what it means. We have a lineage that goes back to slavery and accrued disadvantage. And we have to access solidarity. Any kind of political solidarity that is to be accessed has to be accessed through them being in favor of a black agenda, an ADOS agenda that they move and add as part of their agenda. You nixing reparations, which is a core key component of our ADOS agenda, makes you an enemy, not an ally. And there's nothing I can really say about that, but good luck. Good luck in the Democratic Party without Negroes. Good luck. You don't think we deserve it? That's fine. You can feel how you feel. But if you want to feel how you feel about reparations, we can feel how you feel. We can feel how we feel about DACA and everything else. We are finally getting to a point where this goes both ways. This is not a one-way street anymore. We're just here to help you and be your welcome mat and be the thing that you use to access Americanness. That day is over. I don't know how many people. I don't know how many ADOS even subscribe to Jacobin, but I would cancel that subscription and move on. That is not the magazine for us, and they have proved that. And when people show you who they are, it's time to believe them and walk away and do something different. Okay, so I'm about at the 1 hour mark, so I'm going to go to break. Try to set these phones up, fam, and then we will be back and we'll have a conversation. All right. All right, family, the lines are full. Try to be concise because I'm going to try to get to, because we didn't get to go to the phones last week, and that really disappointed me. I don't know what was going on. My watch keep beeping. Anyway, so I'm going to try to get to as many calls as I can. I'm going to get to as many calls as I can. Oh, we got 310. 310, everybody. 310. What's going on?
What up? This is Tone Talk. So I just wanted to speak on this guy. I don't even know how to say his name, really, I'm be honest. It's weird because I'm finding it on Twitter, you know, because I said some stuff about boys recently, and I think it kind of ties in. I don't think everybody is ready for what you're going to have to do to ground yourself in ADOS because there's been no space like this. So when you see me respond or reply or create space, it's because it's necessary, period. And so, like, whether it be Boyce, whether it be in Cobra, whether it be this man, a lot of these people, like you know, Boyce comes out and says that he started reparations. That's some crazy shit. I have no idea what this man was talking about. Then you have this man saying that reparations, you don't need to get it. This 29-year-old. Let me tell y'all, let me give y'all some real context. This family came a year before he was born. Talking about 89. 89. So your family got here, and the Cosby Show was on TV. Imagine having a life where your family get here and the Cosby Show on TV. That's your life. You start from the Cosby Show forward. No jokes, no crack cocaine, no prison, no Jim Crow, no slavery. Cosby Show forward. Michael Jackson dancing around. I have no idea how. Not only is he thinking, but how we got here. other than I recently posted something, and a lot of y'all failed in terms of like how you guys indoctrinated your kids. Because this is their best friend. Y'all raise racist kids in a racist world, so now I got to deal with your kids talking to me about ain't nothing wrong with Backrash, or whatever his name is. Ain't nothing wrong with Backrash. I don't see anything wrong with him. He just works harder than you guys. If you don't get this, look, I found another article where this dude got a friend that's Indian that's involved in technical stuff, where he done invested with the Indian friend. We don't know if he Brahmin. Hold on. We don't know if he Brahmin on the caste scale. We don't know where he fit on the caste scale. We just know he got up out of India, which is costly, and been running around the globe, which is costly. Now, what America has done, I want y'all to understand, is created something I call gray space. What those gray spaces are is they're the boundary lines between things. So between being a woman and a man, between being, when I say that, I'm not talking about transsexuals, I'm talking about intersectionalism right now. Between being black and white, Jordan Peele. Between being an immigrant and an American. My parents are immigrants, but I'm an American. ADOS are in a flat line, losing situation in all these gray spaces, particularly the males. But as families, all of us. And what I mean by that is, you get Jordan Peele. He can say I'm black when it's time to celebrate like the accomplishment, but everything comes from the white mama. He got the privilege of coming out of a white mama from the day he came out the maternity ward. We heard how black mamas get treated. You got treated like a white baby from the start. You look at this man, the same thing goes on. I want to make clear. Understand, we brought up something very specific that gives you a great clarity on gray space. We talked about how in Trinidad you can get medical school free. We talked about how in Trinidad you can get medical school free. So here you got a guy who can come here and be black because of how we just set this up around melanin. Let's just say it like it is. That's why he feels so comfortable. That's why he's able to get inside of a space and get all these advantages. Then at the same time, he can go to Trinidad and get medical school free because he was there and, you know, they was there and they became citizens and everything else. But at the same time, he gets to be Indian and Brahmin if he's Brahmin. But you just ADOS. Man, y'all can't live like this. I mean, y'all can not understand particularly how this is going to play out for you and your families and everything else. I'm telling you right now, the way I see this thing economically playing out, a lot of y'all that are watching this show are the most responsible family member that you got. You yourself are your most responsible family member you got. Because you're going to let this man do politics and Boyce Watkins sell $1 million classes and Kamala Harris run around and play in the great spaces, you're going to live a horrible life from here on out. The only way out of that is ADOS, which reestablishes your family's identity to be able to say the time that's going on. His family moved into this neighborhood and from a legality standpoint, blocks civil rights claims by black families that have been shut out for generations and built that neighborhood. I want y'all to understand that he got a lot of family wealth. That family wealth was supposed to be in my family's bank account and your family's bank account. His life sits upon ours. Last thing I'm going to just say to y'all is ADOS, American Citizen Slavery, are going to have to understand all these fork-tongue talking people that say one thing and it sound nice. I'm coming for them. Y'all don't have to come on my Twitter page if you don't want to. I'd love for you to tell them, but you don't have to. But if you say something crazy about like gang members killing gang members when a young man gets shot down, I know he's not ADOS. It's just not the moment. It's not the moment. Shut up. Shut up, boys. I'm saying to you, I'm coming. If you come out like Bozo mean, fake John Bozo, the girl, somebody just put up a tweet. I ain't verified, but they broke down how she might come from slave traders. But y'all running around celebrating her like she the second coming. She should have to tell us if she come from slave traders. Because every job she gets is about diversity. It ain't about creating genius marketing schemes. How you got a woman, if she do come from slave traders, representing black people at all these companies as an ADOS person? Y'all better do some good politics because all this don't make no sense. None of this make no sense. It can stay like this, but your life's going to be horrible afterwards if you don't clean this up. I'm just telling you straight. The work that Yvette's doing, the work I'm doing, shout out to Darity. And also, watch out for Kevin Cosby because I saw a lot of crazy stuff in regard to Kevin Cosby as well. Black churches are necessary. You might not want to go to one, and that's okay.
And he has a HBCU. And an HBCU president who doesn't take a salary.
Well, probably the last chartered HBCU. And I'm just saying to you, we got to understand who's for us and who's not for us. I don't want to hold the line, but I'm saying to you at the end of the day, this man wrote an article that didn't make no sense. He don't have the expertise. All right.
Appreciate it, Tom. What what Antonio was talking about? Do y'all know what's her name? Bosom St. John or whatever it is. She was the diversity person at Uber or whatever it is. She went somewhere else, and I think her husband is white, and she's always running around talking about the beauty of blackness and dark skinned women being able to wear bright lipstick as like the Voting Rights Act. Like, not as if like I get to do this, and I agree that you do. I absolutely agree. Beautiful in it. That's not the point. The point is like she's running around as like reparations as a person. I think her name is Bosom St. John or Bosom St. John, but she was the diversity head or something at Uber. And she got out there real quick, which looked real suspicious. Looks like you kind of got boxed out. But then she went somewhere else and she had a Twitter thing talking about she was at Harvard. Y'all didn't expect me to slay at Harvard. Child, you don't get yourself. Oh my God, what's wrong with you? Like, she had a red and she had a hit. And it's just like, dude, she put up this post about her people and somebody was like, her grandmother, like she was named, her daddy named her after his grandmother who was a queen of some tribe or something. And somebody researched, like Tone said, I ain't verified either, but it was like that tribe was involved in the slave trade. Okay, so I don't know. I cannot say. But I'm going to 775. What's your name? Where you calling from? What's on your mind?
This is DJ coming from the Pacific Northwest right now. I called you before. I'm a supporter, and I'm here to thank you again for bringing this subject up because I'm on the West Coast, and my job has me traveling from hotel to hotel, and I bump into discrimination by this particular group of people. The reason why I'm thanking you mainly because there are a lot of black people back east. There are a lot of ADOS who really aren't aware of what you're trying to tell them. And I have a feeling that this won't be the last time ADOS will have a run-in with this particular group of people for several reasons. One of the reasons is that India still has a very bad, persistent racist problem in India. Okay? And the second is I had to educate myself on this culture after a lot of my white hippie friends told me that when they travel to India, it's just a skin game. All right?
A skin game.
A skin game. And these guys are hippies. They don't care. Every day, you know the typical hippie thing, you know.
Yeah.
And it's, man, it's just a skin game. Oh, okay, I took note. And they brought their style of racism with them when they came to the United States. They didn't really assimilate into the culture. I try to be careful when I deal with them because I have to determine if they're Brahmin or not. Because Brahmin are particularly racist group of people when they see someone of a particular hue of skin. Their instances, I was listening to NPR up in the Pacific Northwest, and they were talking about instances where Dalits/untouchables. This is the group of people who are the ones who were ruthlessly discriminated against back in Mother India to this very day. And as a side note, they're the ones, simply put, Indians would not be happy. They would be happy if American descendant of slaves was literally swimming in feces. This is how they feel about anyone who does not.
Let me say one thing. Well, we know Kamala, her mother was Brahmin, right? But let me say one thing that's interesting about that. This fellow right here who we're talking about from Jacobin. Let me say one interesting. Yeah, but let me say one interesting thing. They say he's South Asian, Indian, whatever. Let me say one thing about it. I tend to be far more, and sometimes on Twitter I'm more vicious than Tone, right? He blocked Tone, but he didn't block me. Understand that I'm much lighter skinned than Tone, right? So I wonder, when you put it that way, I kind of wonder if that kind of skin game wasn't in play in terms of who got blocked and who didn't get blocked.
I can tell you, coming from the West Coast, it is real. And my skin hue is like tones. And I've heard some non-Brahmin Indians basically tell me, yes, it's true. They're obsessed with skin. And it's really at a very pathological level. But most of all I can say is that they did not bother to truly... Indians have taught me, if I ever go to another country, to really take time out to understand the history and the subtleties of that culture. And these people have come here so fast looking for money. They haven't really bothered to understand the level of sophistication ADOS is capable of. They look down upon us like they look down upon their untouchables / Dalits. Another word. I strongly encourage your listeners to look these people up and understand that racism is very real in India, and they're bringing that racism here to the United States. And one more thing, that people of color thing, I think it really applies to them, not black folks. I'm here to say this. I don't think that people of color thing applies to ADOS. I think we've been totally pushed completely off the map. And when I hear that people of color thing, I'm hearing immigrants, but specifically them, because they do come here in different hues. But you know, like most immigrants, they have remittances and everything else that they send back. I'm fascinated with culture, and I looked this group up, and they send shivers down my spine as a black person who I know as a group I'm losing ground. And they're really sophisticated at how they do a lot of this stuff. And they're keeping a low profile, but I figure at some point, if they feel like they could take us out, they will. And I hope I was helpful in that with my own personal experience with East Indians and how these people are poised to discriminate. And if you are dark-skinned African American, they will show their fangs at you because it's just entrenched into their culture.
Wow.
And I don't want to use any more of your time. Thank you very much.
No,
I learned more by listening and talking on your show.
I appreciate it, fam. I appreciate that. But you know, when you look at a lot of the literature from them, like, you know, when you look at a lot of the untouchables, they are the people that you see like in the books. You ever look at some of those Indian books and see like how people they're made to be like blue because they're very dark skinned. Like you see a lot of the untouchables who are extremely like very dark skinned, and it just kind of makes me wonder, like this fellow and Kamala are lighter skinned people, right? And so I think I think we're talking about the possibility of taking. You're gonna take colorism. You think you're gonna take colorism to the next level, right? Because we've had some of that here. We definitely have, but not like they do it. Like you got to pick up feces because this is some horrible stuff. Like ask yourself, do you want that here? So I am going now to 714. What's your name? Where you calling from, and what's on your mind? 714, you there?
Hello.
Hey.
Yes. Hi. This is Steve. Hey, Sister Yvette. This is Star Fury from Corona. How you doing?
Pretty good. How about you?
Hey, man. Look, you need to write this down. All right. I called you last year. You know, and I'm from Trinidad. Okay. Just like you, I went to Howard University, got my education, went to Chapman University out here at all-white Jewish college, got my master's there. So the first thing I'm going to tell you right now, I am an ally of your cause.
Oh, thank you, fam. We love allies here.
Look, you need, this is very important.
Okay.
The first Prime Minister of Trinidad was Dr. Useless Williams, all right? My grandfather used to work for him before he died. In Trinidad, they call it the White House is in the U.S., just like we were in D.C.
Yeah.
In Trinidad, it's called the Red House. It's still there.
Okay.
Dr. Eric Eustace Williams was the first prime minister after slavery when we became emancipated in Trinidad. Actually Trinidadian because they call him a dougla. Dougla means mixed black, mixed Indian. So when black people and Indian back in Trinidad, they would say, oh, he's a dougla because of your hair. Okay? Now, this is where I'm going to blow you away. Prime Minister, bless his heart, Dr. Eric Eustace Williams, he went to college, he got his education from Howard.
Oh, okay.
Now, this guy, I'm going to tell you right now, me personally, I came to the U.S., I joined military, I'm still here. I'm married to ADOS. My kids were born here, they descended ADOS. Whatever they get, that's on them. I'm here to support them. I'm here to support you. I'm here to support ADOS. Don't let these people, it doesn't matter if they're Indian, Asian, whatever, don't let them waste your breath. Indians, let me tell you, like the previous caller said, these Indians, there's something wrong with them, and that is why most Caucasians cling to them. Think about it for a minute. Silicon Valley, they import them from India, they come over here, right? Why is it that of all the dark people, most Caucasians are happy to be with? Not all of them, but they're happy to be with. Because of the caste system, the way they have it. We knew that from Trinidad a long time ago. That's why we ignore the Indians. We ignore them. So I'm not holding up, but I'm just wanting to drop that knowledge on you that we are here for you. You got people in the bushes, like me, ex-military. We're looking out for you. That's why this is. I don't call in, but when tonight, I'm calling in to let you know. Don't let these fools try to trip you up.
I appreciate somebody who has that history called in and let me know, fam. I appreciate that. Thank you. Because I know
no problem. We're here for you.
I appreciate it. Listen, listen, we got some real allies out there. All the people we got some real allies out there. And let me tell you something. The people who drop the knowledge, when I figure stuff out about what's going on over there and this immigrant over here, it's because an ally was like dropped in my inbox or something. It's like, Yvette, let me tell you what the real deal is. Let me tell you what's really going on. I'm from Trinidad. I'm from Jamaica. I'm from Nigeria. I'm from Ghana. I know, like the real deal allies. They let you know. They let you know off top. This is what it is. These people. This person is scamming. I know him from over there. He used to have a snack stand over there. I know all of y'all who are running around talking trash. I know it. I know all your business. I'm going now to 321. 321. What's your name? Where you calling from? What's on your mind?
Hi, it's Lucas from Kuwait. How are you?
What's going on?
Hello.
I can hear you. What's going on?
Okay, so tonight, in terms of the author that who was a part of the Jacobin magazine, he's essentially a part of the Democratic establishment. I think using his tentacles to kind of carpet this idea or canvas this idea that reparations shouldn't be given to African Americans to different constituencies. And in the case of this guy, I think it's the non-white liberals who might feel some sense of allegiance or some sense of partnership with African Americans to maybe give reparations it's just due a consideration. But for also African Americans in terms of the Democrats and what they're trying to do in terms of keeping this off any main agenda platform, they're really looking to do this or affect African American voters in 3 states, I think. Michigan, Pennsylvania, and Ohio. Because we forget as African Americans, we lose our vote in our most populous states with our populations, like in Mississippi, South Carolina, Georgia. We lose our actual vote and our power because of so many whites voting Republican. But in the case of just getting past this presidential election and getting more members potentially into the Senate, Democrats are really focused on not losing the voter turnout for African Americans, I think, in Ohio, in those 3 states, in Pennsylvania, Ohio, and Michigan. And that's why they keep bringing out that they're spending, it seems like, more currency, even early on, by pushing, all the different people like Maxine Waters talking and pushing about diversity initiatives, Joanne Reed making arguments against not voting. This, and she keeps emphasizing that. To be a journalist, she's emphasizing, hey, whatever argument someone's telling you not to vote, there's something wrong with them. Don't listen to them. you even hear this Jacobin guy.
And we haven't made that argument. I told Democrats to go back to the drawing board. I said, listen, if you're out here and you don't have a reparations plan and you don't have a black agenda, go back and fix it. You have time. So I don't even know. Like, I haven't come out and said that. So what are you arguing against? You dizzy child. But go on. I'm sorry.
That's not the point. Yeah. I mean, they understand that they're not counter arguing against you. What they are doing is that all this audience that's listening now, the vast majority of African American population, or even potential allies, cannot hear your message yet. Cannot hear what ADOS messaging is. It's right now through the mainstream media. It's some kind of argument about reparations, and when we talk about and they bring up these different topics, it's really meant to kind of fatigue voters early onto this issue so that they give in to just, hey, we all got to rally behind the Democratic Party when the election comes up and get behind the platform, no matter if it doesn't include the argument of slavery being on the agenda. And the reason being, that's why you have someone like Charlamagne tha God, for example. Mm-hmm. He completely expresses an understanding for the problems African Americans face. And he also agrees that we should get reparations in some form. However, where does he stop? Hey, I'm stopping, and this isn't a big enough agenda to stop me from voting or doing something in the political process, because I don't care if it doesn't include, it's not a deal breaker. Reparations is not a deal breaker for me. Or even agenda with African American, issues being on there. Because Democrats could, for example, say, hey, you know what, we're going to have a specific program for getting home ownership loans to African Americans in our platform. That's something very specific. They can still come up with different policies even without, having an exact plan for reparations. I agree. Do something like that.
I agree. Thank you, caller. I appreciate it. I'm going to try to get to the next one, but I appreciate you calling in. I think another part is, like, we got to stop, like, part of the problem with people like Charlamagne, too, is not only that he don't know nothing, but it's also the factor of, listen, you are making good money at this radio station or whatever. You don't really care. Like, what do you care? I remember seeing, people don't think I watch stuff. I watch a lot of stuff. I remember watching him doing an interview, and he was like, the ghetto don't love you. And I think the better way to put that is you don't love the ghetto. and like, you are kind of showing that, and I understand that. And I think people need to understand, like, you can't just have these leaders who are kind of respectability because they are doing well and they really don't care and they're going through the motions, but they getting their check and they getting their money and they got their books and they got their books and Charlamagne also has got his radio show. Like, he's living in a good neighborhood. Why does he don't care no more? Like, I think we have to deal with that as well. I'm going to 770. What's your name? Where you calling from? What's on your mind?
Hey, I'm Nathan calling from Atlanta.
What's going on, Nathan?
Hey, so Tone Talk is right. You're right. I just started listening to your show about 5 months ago. Okay. And I'm super on board with ADOS. My grandfather, he was born in the early 1920s. And served in World War II, and as a child growing up, he told me specifically, after World War II, the Jews got reparations and he got Jim Crow. So it's really extremely personal to me what he had to go through and the cost of it now and the effects of what's happening now here in Atlanta. Atlanta's getting gentrified so rapidly. And I work for a big technology company. I can't really say online which one, but I'm in the town and I worked in the wealthy side of town and I see it. Like, people, black community here are losing their houses. Martin Luther King house around where he was born at, it's nothing but white people living there because you can't afford to live down there. Yeah. And for him to imagine that dream of like that black people can't afford to live in a black city no more, the house he's being born at, that's some serious damn. It has to go to wealth and wealth transfer. Yeah. My white friends say I'm in my 30s. My coworkers, his dad has $1 million house. That wealth is getting transferred to him. Even though me and him make the same amount of money, I can't compete on that type of level. No. With those huge wealth transfers.
And it's not your fault. That's the worst part.
Every day.
That's the worst part. It's not your fault because your people were used to build wealth. Like, that's the thing. Like it would be different. It would be different if we were white and whatever, and like our parents had smoked methamphetamines and blew away all the inheritance. Then it's like my daddy messed it up. No, like we can't compete because we were used as tools to build white wealth, as opposed to our people being human beings. We were made less than human. That's what it means to make somebody into a slave. Like think it's so much worse because it's not your fault that your parents don't have that to give to you because America used us to give that to your white coworker.
Right, and you have to, with my grandfather, he did good for his life. He just passed away last year, but it's, he wasn't allowed to start an AT&T business back then in the day. His father worked as a chef in Decatur, Georgia, and that's what he was forced to do.
Yeah.
So all the big, huge companies that was being started, he wasn't allowed to pay, allowed to participate in it. On those things, and they have to do something to write a check. I'm fighting for it every day. I'm not allowing the guy who wrote the article about ADOS. I'm not allowing anybody to speak down on ADOS anymore. I'm active. Every day I'm fighting for it because it has to be done. And,
and it's overdue. It's overdue. The funniest thing, I was listening to some kind of Pan-Africanist activist reparations person talk, and they were talking about, well, we have to worry about the statute of limitations. That's trash. You don't understand that is trash. Like saying that we as ADOS have to really worry about that is like saying like a rape victim who didn't get to go to the police station because her rapist was at the door has to worry about, like, I didn't get to file a police report. No, you let the rapist be at the door. Like, the victimizer, the people who victimize us are the ones who said that we couldn't have it. We wanted it a long time ago. We wanted 40 acres and a mule a long time ago. But y'all said we couldn't have it. There is no statute when you victimize us and you stood in the way of us getting redress. I don't think you people who are trying to do reparations and Cobra and all of you understand that you are doing it wrong. There's all these kinds of weird things that you're saying. I listen to you and I'm trying to make sense of it because I'm not trying to be a mean person. But it's when I listen to it, I just come away with this garbage that you're just saying to make yourselves relevant. You know a tree by its fruit and you have no fruit. You have no fruit, and that is problematic. But I'm going to let you finish up, Colin.
Yeah, finishing up too, the Democrats, for my family and my cousin who got locked up for 3 strikes for selling a pocket full of drugs and got 23 years, they have affected me and my family directly off those laws and stuff. And you can't just keep saying, vote Democrat, vote for Bernie, vote for Hillary. And when it comes to reparations, I take it extremely personal. Like I said, if you're not supporting reparations, you're just spitting on my grandfather's grave and his grandfather's grave. Like, that's what you're actually doing to me. This is extreme disrespect. Yeah. And if you can't support that, I can't support a party or somebody running for president. I can't do it. And nobody else can. You shouldn't do it either.
And you shouldn't have to, especially from a presidential candidate who supported reparations for another community. Like, it's not like he doesn't just. It's not like he has this idea that I just don't support reparations across the board. Nah, you supported it for them. You just anti-ADOS. I really wish you would just say it. Like, either say it or get on board with reparations. We can argue about what it looks like. We can have that debate. We can have that conversation. But for you to say what you said after you support, you support reparations for another community, but if you say, well, what does it mean? I don't know. Like, no, man, stop. Stop. I'm tired of everybody just lying. Just say you don't like us. Just tell me you don't like me. You don't like ADOS people, and you don't think we deserve anything. Because that's really what you're saying. You don't believe in the debt. You want to do something else. Just say that, and so we all clear, and I can walk away from you clean. So thank you, fam. I appreciate you calling in. You said a mouthful. I appreciate it, fam. Listen, what I want to say is, listen. Even when I talked about the rape example that I used, understand that it's also kind of like the police. Like, it's the police. Like, it's the government. Like, understand that, like, they can change the law. Like we have to abide by the statute. No, the government makes the statute. Change it. Whatever it is. You set the limits as the government. Change it. You don't have to be running around with your tail swung everywhere. Like, I don't understand. Like, well, we don't got to do nothing. We don't have to do nothing but get the debt that we're owed. You all messed up. You all didn't give us the money when we asked for it. And you all can change the limits or statutes or whatever. You're the government. You're the government of the most powerful country in the world. No, I'm not doing all this weird stuff that y'all want me to do. It's just not going to happen. I don't think people understand. I don't think people understand that. I don't think people understand. You know, there's a bill in Connecticut to have no statute of limitations for rape. But y'all want to tell me that for reparations, I got to have a statute of limitations. You got to understand that, like, what, you know, Antonio said it right when he said that slavery in America and that contagion made us a contagion to wealth. So we didn't get to be people. Do you understand how horrible that is not to get to be people? Like, you were just something that destroyed the wealth of white people. So they couldn't have you around. I could have these other little South Asians and all these other people, but I can't. You're a contagion to wealth. You got to stay out there. And I'm going to use these other brown people to show that we have diversity. And they going to get your affirmative action too. How you like that? Like, I don't think we really understand that. But I'm going to 757 now. 757, what's going on? You there, 757? Hello?
Yvette.
Otis, where you was?
What's up? First off, I'm going to tell you what I'm doing because I like to talk to good stuff first. ADOS. I'm up here at a historically black college. I'm going to go to 3 classes tomorrow so I can start doing some hands-on ADOS because our young people are getting a lot of garbage from some of these professors, and I've kind of worked my way into a thing where I've been invited into 3 classes. So I'm going to try my hand at imitating Yvette and tone and talking to people one-on-one about ADOS.
Oh.
Yeah, I'm hoping I can. Yeah, what I've had some really good examples out of you and Tone, but I want to talk about something else too while you're at it. Not only are they attacking us through these left-wing magazines, I just shared a post from another academic, and he wrote an article talking about reparations and blackness. And I tell you, you and Tone have to be the most invisible 2 people that are known only by a hashtag in the history of this nation. I'm telling you, I believe this uprising is going to be the new civil rights movement. And the people that used to carry that baton are a little upset because they're running with nothing to hold on to except memories. They haven't been effective. I've heard them talk about you only being a virtual movement. You have no grassroots. And I literally, on a program last night, tried to explain to the people, I said, I'm not a principal in this movement, but I've done a lot of research helping to make sure that they get all the data they need. And I've been working with these people probably 3.5 years. But that's not what I mean. Grassroots has to be on the ground, knocking on doors, creating membership. Look, I'm 66. If you're 40 and telling me you're a principal in a movement, and you haven't realized that technology has moved, so knocking on the doors is actually effectively using your keyboard, what the hell can you and I talk about?
None.
I'm supposed to be the old ancient fool that can't think, and I figured that out. Perhaps maybe because I became a parent late. But you want to be mad at people that have used a tool available to them in the last 10 or 12 years effectively, and you're crying foul that the people that follow them are somehow some kind of minions, can't think for themselves. I explained to them, I've watched this movement grow. I believe in it. I'm happy that you're doing what you're doing, and I tell you to keep on pushing. The other thing, they're not just attacking from these magazines. I saw where City Lab had 2 economists come out with a program talking about how to close the racial wealth gap. Right away, I'm suspicious of it, so I read through it quickly. I shared it with Sandy Darity. He did exactly what I keep telling the Breaking Brown family to do. He didn't call the people outside their names. When I tagged him in a tweet, he came back with a definitive answer. You can go to Facebook or Twitter on the Sandy Darity and you'll see it. He just flat out told them the same way he handled Marion Williamson. I don't know what's wrong with the economists. They got something accurate, but it's simply not true. We don't have to fall into the game of name calling with these people. Hit them with their facts and their own story. Yesterday, I had a gentleman talking. He went through this long rant explaining to me how ADUS was deficient. So I listened to his presentation and I asked him using his own words, "Sir, you just said that CARICOM went to the British and Haiti went to the French. Did any of them ask an American citizen to come over and get part of their reparations?" No, that's not the point. You have to have a Afrocentric, Pan-African movement. Well, hold on. That's not the question. The question was, did we have any legal right to that? So then I hit him with the one that I always did. When Randall Robinson pushed the African Americans here in this country, I was young when this happened. When he pushed for us to support apartheid, did any one of the ADUS people gain anything personally from that? But we gained as a people to find out we could win. We actually won a battle, and to be honest with you, I'm not so sure the whole lesson in that is to make sure we don't make our reparations be like their apartheid, because the Afrikaners are about 12% of the population, but they own 88% of all the wealth in that country. So I'm not really sure apartheid was defeated. That is my main concern as an old, dumb black man in America. My thing is, when y'all shake this reparations, you get in the room with those Sheila Jackson Lees, you throw out that trash that Cobra and several other people did to frame this H.R. 40 and change this thing from 13 people, that 7 of them are picked by government officials. The other 6 are supposed to be some representatives of groups that had been known to advocate for reparations. Because if people like Mark Thompson are going to be one of those 13, and 7 of them are already picked by government officials, that sounds like a stat death to me. We can't win. And when people tell me, I heard one of the Cobra people say that the bill was revised. I can tell you, I read a lot. I read the old bill, I read the new bill. The only difference I could see was the preamble of that H.R. 40. If I'm wrong, I will apologize. But all I saw that was different in the supposedly revised bill is the preamble. So if you're setting up a construct that $12 million is supposed to be spent to study reparations to see if we can actually get it moved to fruition for us, I'm saying that bill has to be changed. And I got a distinct feeling with some of the research I've been doing, Sheila Jackson Lee is going to have to pass that on to somebody we can trust. She cannot be trusted to move this with any sense of urgency or relevance, because just like the number 3 man, she's already displayed in public that she's really not pro-reparations. And we have to be definitive about who we let represent us. I learned this in high school as a parliamentarian for my SDA. Some things don't change. You do not set up a construct that 7 people out of 13 create a quorum, and 6 of them can meet without the other 7 and still do business, and expect me to believe that you're setting up something that's advantageous for me.
They setting up a hustle. They setting up a hustle. Like we don't understand, these people are setting up a hustle where they get paid off of commission money and whatever. They setting up a hustle. But go on, Otis, I'm gonna let you finish. I'm sorry.
Hey, look, no, I'm gonna cut it off there, and I'm gonna try to let you know Wednesday how it goes Tuesday in this classroom. Because I tell you, I'm up here at Virginia State University, another historically black university, and the thing I see is part of what some of your callers talked about. The stores around this university, guess who are the proprietors? Indian. That's what they do when you hand them money. Put the money on the counter. They don't even want to touch you, but they want to take them greenbacks. Look, we got to wake up as a people, power to the people, but only those that are willing to fight for it. And look, the other thing, I saw Al Sharpton use a phrase I never heard him use in all of my 50 years of listening to this man when he had a jerry curl. He actually put out a tweet an article talking about running for black. I think you have been listened to in an audience that people don't want to give you credit for. I applaud you and Tone. Hey, Yvette, y'all the baddest two invisible people in the country right now.
Hey, and let me just, Elvis, let me just say this. Oh, if y'all trying to figure out, I know some of y'all are trying to figure out how to have these conversations and how to have these debates, and these people trying to fool y'all by throwing a bunch of words at y'all. If you follow Otis have everything from the screenshots to the foundation. Follow Otis and help yourself figure out how to have this debate, because Otis be setting people up to gut them. So just follow. Just if you wanna figure it out, you just need to follow Otis and just kind of, he be gutting people and he set them up. Yes, proceed, Governor. You remember that? How people remember that? All right.
All I say is I like to let them talk and then ask them to clarify the words they just used, because I get confused. I'm just an angry old black dude. Much love to you and the Breakers Down family. Do what you do.
Appreciate it as always. Understand one thing, fam. Understand one thing. If CARICOM, when we talk about reparations for the Caribbeans, if they get money, we don't get any money. It's not divisive that they get that. There's a different justice claim. And I think, Otis said, where to hit them. I think you hit them with their failure. You don't have to, what they're trying to do is get us caught up in black, the black diaspora and the black radical tradition. They're trying to get us caught up in a whole bunch of history books, right? And we've read all that stuff. We know all that stuff. But listen, I'm going to hit you with your own failure. You've been talking all this stuff and doing all this stuff for a very long time, and it's failed. It has failed. You are a failure. It's over. We're not letting you do this no more. Like Otis said about the dude who said he rewrote the thing, and it turns out he just rewrote the preamble to H.R. 40. Well, rewriting the preamble is like rewriting the doggone first paragraph in the essay that you have in history class. That don't mean nothing. That don't mean nothing. It doesn't mean. It doesn't mean anything. It doesn't mean anything. And so, your organization, your reparations organization was founded in the 80s, and the most you've done is do this little blurb. And Otis brought up all the doggone problems with HR 40, but the most you've done after HR 40 is change the preamble. That's your grassroots. You gotta have boots on the ground. I ain't never seen nothing like this where you can just say you for reparations and you ain't out here in the streets. You've been in the street. What you accomplished? You've been out here in these streets, so you say, with a bullhorn, making a whole lot of noise and a whole lot of rattling. What you do? What you accomplish? Let me just say something. You people are slow. If you want to go knock on doors, that's fine. You might have 5 people in the house. Why would you do that, dum-dum? Why would you do that if you can have 2,000 people watching you at the same time every Monday and Wednesday? Why would you go knock on 200 doors and you come back, your foot sore, you already ain't got good shoes with good cushions. Why would you go do that when you can get here and make a concise argument and use technology? But I know you don't know because you just got a Twitter account. You don't understand technology. You don't understand that advocacy has changed. Bruce Dixon did the same thing. It used to be in my time that you couldn't do nothing if you wasn't outside with a picket sign. This is not 1965. We have different ways of providing a political education and a foundation. We have different ways of doing that. And I can get more people this way. Understand, this is about who I can get. By the end of the week, I can have 15, 20, 30,000 people who have seen the video. When's the last time you knocked on 20,000 doors to get like the extra 10, like 30, to get like, when's the last time you knocked on 1,000 doors? It doesn't work that way no more. You're a relic. You're an antique. Because you don't understand and you haven't tried to understand. The only thing you haven't even tried to criticize this man who is opposed to reparations. You haven't tried to criticize this. You have just gone at me. You have just gone at ADOS, as Russian bots and everything else. You are a problem, and I didn't come at you first. You came at me. You are a problem. Understand that. Understand that. If you go to like in Cobra right now, it's like a bunch of, I'm looking at my phone, it's like a bunch of like tweets about Nipsey Hussle and stuff instead of like talking about like that Guardian article. You have to stay on message to do this work. And rest in peace, Nipsey. I ain't got no problem. Rest in peace. I hate to see anybody lose their life. But when you are trying to do the work of reparations, you have to stay on message. You can do an RIP tweet. I did one myself. I hate the fact anybody lose their life like that in such a savage and vicious way, especially got a kid, all that. But you have to stay on message in terms of what you're doing. You don't know how to do the job that you have taken. So I have taken your job from you. That's it. It's finished. We're finished. You can hit me all the time. I don't care, child. I look at all these little weird, nasty tweets and I laugh, honey. It's funny to me that you are so old and so silly. It just is. But we here are trying to do real work, and we're going to continue to do real work. And it's not divisive. It's not divisive at all. It's just what it is. So I'm going to my next call right now. I am going to, I'm going to 614-614. What's your name? Where you calling from? What's on your mind?
Hello?
You there, 614?
Yes, William from Ohio.
Hey, William, what's going on?
Oh, nothing. I've been following you for quite some time.
Okay.
Extremely impressed.
Thank you.
Extremely impressed. And I just have to say, even with my kids, I tell them just because you're my color don't make you my kind.
Ooh.
And if you knew your enemy by his or her color, you would always see them coming. They owe us. And what gets me so emotional, like this guy, I don't give a damn what he says. If he can't let me, I'm going to straighten him out real quick. Because no one else, my ancestors are from Greer, South Carolina. But no one else's ancestors, our ancestors here were raped, hung, tortured, bred, hunted for game and for play, and they don't see anything about that.
Mm.
They owe us, if they would have paid us the 40 acres and a mule back then, we wouldn't be having this conversation now.
And fam, let me just say one other thing, and left us alone. Part of the problem too is when we did start businesses, they let people come in and murder us and take our stuff and give us 40 acres and a mule, and you got to protect us against these white mobs just because we're citizens too.
Yeah. And then we have Black Wall Street. Black Wall Street, we was doing our thing. We were thriving. And the envy and the jealousy and the hatred for us, what did they do? They burn us down. They burn us down. But then I talk to my elders out of respect. But I also tell them, I don't know civil, but I sure know right. And we had the right to give up every damn thing we owned in the 60s for individuals who never wanted to be our friend. And now we fight like hell to get it back. So when King did wake up, because I tell my kids, skip that I have a dream, I show them what he's talking about. We coming to get that check.
Mm.
You want us to come and pull ourselves up by our bootstraps, but we bootless. And then we run in a 100-yard dash. We at the starting line, you at the finish line. So it's easy for you to say, hey, forget that, put that in the past.
Let me just say this. I don't even like that analogy no more. Like, I think the analogy that Tone said a long time ago is true. It's not even that, like, I'm at the starting line and you at the finish line. You made me the shoes. Like, white people use us as shoes to run to over here. You use us as tools to build your wealth. And then you're trying to throw away the shoes. Right? That's what's really happening. That we're at an extinction moment. Like, they trying to throw away the shoes that they used to create all that wealth. Like, we got new shoes. We got all these new immigrants. We got new shoes. And everybody's like, well, we love the new shoes too. There's a great proverb or something that said, like, when the tree cutter or whatever came into the forest to cut down the trees said, at least the axe handle is one of us. No, it's not really. That's not what it's about to be used for. We have to understand that. But I'm gonna let you finish, fam. Go ahead.
But here's the thing, and my daughter is a teenager, and I educate her, and I teach her, and I talk to her on a regular basis. And the one thing I don't understand about us as ADOS people is how we identify ourselves with Republican or Democrat or Independent. Mm-hmm. I'm none of those things. I'm always going to vote for the best interest of ADOS, even if that means it's not in my best interest. So if you see my daughter, you say, oh, you're a beautiful young lady of color. She'll be real clear.
I'm not a woman of color. I'm ADOS. I teach her that. She has to understand that. And we have to, because what I think, and I'm going to let you go, because like I said, I've been following you for a long time. I think you're a strong sister.
I appreciate
and I'm going to back you 1,000%. When them tickets went on sale, I bought more than one of them.
I look forward to seeing you. Thank you.
We coming a group down. But I know there's a lot of people trying to get on here because I could go forever. I could go forever. But whatever we can do, we're going to do. If I go to the cashier, ask me, you know about ADOS? I don't care who it is. I got that mouthpiece.
Yeah.
I'm going to tell them real quick. But y'all want what you owe me. Everything you owe me, I want it. And that's what we don't get it. We think we can get it on our own. No, you can't.
No.
We're the only group that does. We want to be friends with everybody else but ourselves.
Yeah.
I don't get that. I'm in love with my group first. But that's all I got to say. Appreciate you. Appreciate Tone.
Thank you too, fam.
I'm down with it.
Appreciate it. Thank you. Thank you. Yeah, I think you know, one of the things that he says, like, everybody's tribal. Like, you know, Antonio put up a post and I followed up talking about Issa Rae's marrying a Senegalese man, and we talked about that before. We talked about how she was anchored in Senegalese-ness as opposed to ADOS-ness, and everybody's like, oh, y'all just hate. No, how likely is it you in Hollywood and all this stuff and you marry a Senegalese? Because that's your family and that's what you were anchored in. Just like Yvonne Orji or whatever from the same Insecure show is with a person of Nigerian descent. Like, everybody is tribal and they're being tribal. It's only when they come outside and they say we're all the same and blackness is flat. And so we have to understand that we are our own tribe, and we have to advocate for this ADOS tribe, because that's what people always say. Oh, ADOS is you know, it's divisive. No, we have a justice claim. And everybody, like, if you came here like this guy's family in 1990 or whatever, I don't know why you come here in 1990 or whatever, and you're trying to tell me what I deserve. But if you come here during that time, you don't have my justice claim. You're not my people. It's not about being divisive. It's about we have a definition of who we are, what our contribution was, and what we're owed via not only the contribution, what our contribution of free labor, but the accrued oppression. And you're not a part of that. That's just facts. That's not divisive. That's just what the fact is. Don't. This is like math. It's not about being divisive. Like, how do you not understand that? Like, what has come unhinged in your mind that you don't really understand that? So I'm going to 617. 617, what's your name? Where you calling from? What's on your mind?
Hey, Yvette, it's Reggie from Boston. How you doing?
What's going on, Reggie? How you doing?
Oh, I'm doing good. You know, just on the ground working, reading. You know how we do at DOS.
Yeah, we put in work.
No doubt. But I just wanted to just kind of say this definitively, and I know we sound like broken records here, but I feel like I wanted to say it again because it's a descendant of immigrants talking, the Jacobin guy.
Yeah.
I just want to say it definitively. Yvette has said this. Tone has said this. We are not anti-immigrant. Specifically, we're not anti-black immigrant. But that being said, we're going to oppose anyone who is anti-DOS.
Yeah.
It doesn't matter if you're an immigrant. It doesn't matter if your ancestors go back to 1619 or before that. If you get in the way of group interest, I have an issue with you. And I think in a lot of ways when people see the pushback against the immigrants, why that energy is so strong is because we as DOS paved the way for you. You're here. Get on code. That's all we're saying. You know what? We're not killing immigrants. We're not building fences like Trump. We're not doing all of this weird stuff. Like, even in Africa, they're killing immigrants.
Yeah, let me just say this. Let me just say this before you go on, Reggie. The way to get on code is to follow your other immigrant allies who are already on code. Like, there's a great path for you to understand how to get on code, because we got a lot of black immigrants who have called into this show and they've been on code. So if you don't know what get on code with us means, you can just follow the black immigrants who have called into this show many a times, and that's enough for you to understand the framework. Don't be like, I don't know what you mean. I don't know. No, there's a path for you. I'm gonna let you finish. I'm sorry.
Exactly. No problem. Exactly. It just, I want people to understand this.
since we're talking about, since we're criticizing immigrants specifically in this piece, like, understand this, that we do not levy any criticism against black immigrants or any other immigrants that we have not already levied against ourselves. Like, how many times have we talked about black celebrity, the decadent veil? We've talked ad nauseum about how we've got it wrong on gender when we don't go to the data and what that means now. We've talked about strivers, duper self, the bootstrap-isms. We talked about Jay, Boys who showed where Claude got it wrong. We've talked about hip-hop artists. We've talked about actors. We've talked about singers that have ancestors that go all the way back.
CBC.
Just like our ancestors go all the way back. We've criticized boomers. We've got our foot on the necks of the CBC right now. Most of those are ADOS people. So what makes you think that the black immigrant or any other immigrant or any group in the United States think that they're exempt from the same criticism that we have levied against ourselves already? Y'all are in your feelings. We're cleaning house. We're not just cleaning house, we're cleaning the whole house. And since you are here in the house that was built on my back, you're not exempt from that criticism. And since you've come here in significant numbers post 65, you're going to be included in that criticism as well. If we're going to talk about Pan-Africanism with us being one family and we're all in this together, like, depending on how you position yourself or how white power or white capital has positioned you when you get here, you get this criticism as well. Now I already know the answer to this question, Yvette, but I know you've read Nkrumah. You got a degree in political science. I know you've done your reading. Now, when we talk about this, it's not an anti-African or anti-Caribbean or an anti-immigrant. What this is doing, and this is why Yvette and others say that it's outdated. It's not saying that Nkrumah or Sunkara or Toure or others are not outdated. Like, those people are gone. We're here in 2019 updating the class struggle. If you look at the numbers of the people who are here, when you have damn near 60% of immigrants who come from some African countries with bachelor's degrees, without the student debt burden, and with the added benefit that white people will deal with you differently because, you see the conversation with Derry, they view you as more docile, and they know they don't owe you nothing. When policies like that are put in place, what colonialism, imperialism, whatever you want to call it, white power has done is set the stage for a new kind of class struggle here in the United States. Do not get mad at me because I've discovered by discerning the data and the history that you are more likely than not to have a disproportionate number of class enemies in your ranks. The fact that 60% come over here with degrees, from places like Nigeria or other places, it's not my fault. The fact that half of Chinese immigrants come here, 50% with degrees, that's not my fault. Imperialism has set up another class struggle. The fact that we recognize that is why we say you need to update. That is why we say this is not relevant. We're not throwing Nkrumah away. We're not throwing Toure away. We're not throwing any of those people away. If they were alive here today, they would look at it from the class position. They're like, the United States is bringing more of the bourgeoisie, of more of the professionals, more of the elites here, and creating another class struggle. There's no contradiction
and an inter-black class struggle. They're bringing a lot of elite black immigrants here to compete against the descendants of chattel slaves. And that's unfair to us. It's unfair to us to fight for acting jobs in Hollywood and to be portrayed in a different way, to only when those acting jobs open up for them to be portrayed by black immigrants. You have to understand that this is a replacement mechanism. But I'm gonna let you have the last word, Reggie.
No problem. And just in general, if you look at just African immigrants, just in general, you put them all together, with the census data, when I looked at, 43% have degrees, and less than 20% of African American DOS have degrees. That's a class struggle waiting to happen. Like, why are you mad at me for pointing that out? What you need to decide when you come here, whether you're part of that 43% that has the degrees, or you're the other percent that doesn't. You just gotta decide what side of the struggle you're standing on. That's what we're asking. Get on code. I'm just giving you the data. Don't get mad at me. Get mad at the numbers. Get mad at America setting that up.
You
see what I'm saying?
No, I see exactly what you're saying.
And that's kind of what, I just kind of see with this Jacobin guy, put in that Westchester County, put in a white neighborhood, and he's supposed to be like left.
Listen,
all these guys are supposed to be super socialist, and you just totally miss that class analysis. It's like, don't tell me to read.
And it's not just listen, Reg. It's not just class analysis. We built this country. Like, I don't think we understand. We built this country. There's no America without us. There's no country without us. There's no country without us and our free labor and our oppression and everything that happened afterward. There is no country. You didn't build it, though. Your people got here in like 1989 or something. You didn't build America. You don't get to tell me what I get. You don't get to tell me what I'm allowed to have. You don't get to tell me what debt gets to be paid. You get to sit down and shut up. You get to ask me how to do it. No. Y'all been letting these people run too wild. Y'all been letting these people just be brown and run wild and be crazy. That's not going to work no more. You got to call these people out. Forget him and his little rich parents. Well, we were the least wealthy in our community. That's way more than we had. They got all that wealth, got a part, whatever. Screw you, man. But go on. I'm sorry. Go finish up, Reggie. I'm sorry.
Oh, no problem. And not to push back on you, but just to kind of add on to that. We built the country and we were set here as an underclass. Like, when you see people with all of these class analyses, they say, you have the workers, you have the proletariat, then you have the professionals, then you have the elites, you have this and that. But what they don't see with the calcification of wealth is created an underclass with ADOS people. Like, half of the people are worth less than $1.
No, I agree.
If you're going to talk to people in terms of working class, you still got to talk to me. Whether you're talking race or who built the country or class, you still have to talk to American descendants of slaves. I said it before and I'll say it again. Defer to us or get out the way. I'm on the right side of this, whether you're looking at it as race, Pan-Africanism, class, or whatever. When you're here, you listen to ADOS. That's all I got to say, Yvette.
Appreciate it. Thanks, Reg. And let me just say something else. They love you. White America loves you because you don't have a justice claim. Like white America loves you and adores you because you don't have a justice claim in this country. When you come from Trinidad by way of India by way of Trinidad, you don't have a justice claim. So there's no fear that you're going to say you owe me this or whatever because they know you have no justice claim. That's why you're the perfect replacement mechanism. And that's why they're using us to be little people that collect tickets and ticket stubs. And when you go to all these little sick places, whether it be Six Flags or whatever, like, we don't get anything. That's what a jobs guarantee looks like right now. We get crowded into these little industries where we just get to. So you want a jobs guarantee. Okay, a lot of people get really nice jobs. And we get the jobs where at Six Flags we collect the stubs. And somebody wants to tell you that's best. Because and the Jacobin writer will tell you that's best because he's the head of Jacobin. He's doing good. So he's going to tell you, Negroes, just get a jobs guarantee. It'll be good for you. It'll be a class-based thing that you'll do, and you'll have a way to feed your family. Yeah, you'll be making $25,000 a year or whatever, and you still won't have your debt paid, and you'll be the same place that your people were in 1952, 53. How does that look? But he don't know enough. You ain't been here long enough to say nothing. We don't ever tell people, like, your people ain't been here long enough, and you spent your whole life reading Marx. You didn't talk any of them articles I read about how much you read about ADOS-ness or ADOS history. You just gave us some BS quotes about MLK. Stop. Hush. Be quiet. 219, I'm coming to you. What's your name? And what's on your mind? Where you calling from?
Good evening, Dell from Gary, Indiana.
What's going on?
I was introduced to you by Talisa, the teaching, so
Props to her, and thank you for the work that you're doing.
Thank you.
Living in a city that is largely paid off, and where we've held, political power and so forth, how should we operate in this, one? And secondly, I also operate in a sphere where I deal mostly with Caucasians, much of which is conservative. And I have found that in having conversations with them, the easiest way, or the way that they can actually wrap their heads around it, is I pretty much leave the whole slavery thing, because they're willing to concede, yes, slavery was bad, shouldn't have done that. But after all, my family fought for the Union Army, or my family was involved in that. I usually go back 50 years and point out, as far as 50 years ago, we still dealt with redlining. We still dealt with economic and political issues that were designed to keep us down. And often they would say, you know what, you got a point, but how do you resolve it? How do you put this on the ground for something that works?
Let me say this while you're talking. The way that you resolve it is that you close the racial wealth gap. And I think one of the things that we have tried to do is we put the burden on ourselves. Screw that. No, I ain't listen, little man. Like the little man whoever this man you're talking to, or whoever this person is, the burden is not on me to fix myself. It's not like if somebody runs up to you and slashes you, nobody puts the burden on you to stitch yourself up. You have to fill this racial wealth gap, but whatever you got to fill this racial wealth gap with, it's got to be some money, it's got to be some therapy. We have, really, ADOS, we should really be an American project. We are a project that America puts money and resources and therapy and all kinds of stuff in until we fix. It's not my job to figure that out, though. You broke me, fix me. Now, I can tell you some things. I can give you some ideas about how to do that. I got a lot of them. We can talk about that, and I can have all kinds of input. But it's not like no white man gets to tell me, well, what do you do? Well, what do you do, white man? We're American. This is a country problem. If somebody's talking about what needs to happen here, there, you have all kinds of ideas. But all of a sudden, right here, you ain't never thought about it. You need to think about it. You need to figure yourself out. Stop making this like my job to figure out like what you all did in terms of 40 years of oppression that you benefited from. This is an American problem. This is American oppression. You need to be a part of figuring it out. And if not, you're a part of the problem too. I'm always explaining stuff to you like you slow and retarded. I know I'm not doing that no more. I'm not I don't have a problem having a conversation about but you just doing that to set me up, man. You just doing that to set me up so that I don't know about that. Listen, you're not on board anyway. It's a real problem the way these people are navigating. Like if I said there's not enough oil anymore, y'all would all get on board. Well, what? I mean, I thought that was a reserve over here. What you mean we're not gonna have no? Like everybody would be trying to figure stuff out. You don't want you. It's not that you don't know or you can't figure it out. You need to pour money into this wealth gap until it's finished, until there's no more wealth gap. And then that means that we're American. That means that you fixed what slavery built. Until then, that's just what it is, and you have to fix it. As a victim, I don't have to figure out how I'm fixed. But I can help. I certainly can. But don't put the onus on me like you are not American. But I'm gonna let you finish, fam. Go ahead.
Okay. And other than that, living in like I said, Gary's largely a black city. The biggest frustration I feel is that locally our politicians seem to be less concerned about let's build things up, and they seem to be more concerned about how they can help their friends out or help themselves out or position themselves for their next move upward in the Democratic Party. And meanwhile, we're still stuck. Yeah. And that's frustrating because, this is a black city. If anything, things ought to be running right here because we do have, some sense of holding the wheels of power, decision making, and so forth, and yet we still struggling.
Yeah, no, I agree, fam. I agree. I mean, and it's not yet we still struggling. We're built to eat. We're built to be America's trash compactor, and everybody else uses us as a conduit. We're all brown until you get my diversity slot at the school. You know, I mean, we like you. Come on, man. Like we're not the same, and like part of the problem is that we have allowed people to kind of define us through this idea of sameness that doesn't exist and never existed, and that has become and has always been a problem. We are not the same. We do not have the same lineage. We do not have the same history. We do not have the same oppression. You ain't even been here long enough. Your parents came here and they ain't been here long enough. You don't get to tell me what I get because they gave you the money by accessing whiteness to start a magazine. That's not how any of this works. So I want to thank you, fam, for calling in.
Service, Yvette.
Thank you, fam. I appreciate it. Thank you for calling. I appreciate your call. Fam, we are at the doggone midnight mark. So I'm sorry, fam. I know we got a packed call tonight. I'm sorry I didn't get to, like, oh my God, so many people. It's just packed. I didn't get to y'all tonight. I apologize. It's a lot to talk about. And it's only a 2-hour show. So I apologize for not getting to everybody that I wanted to get to tonight. We will probably have a show that has some similarities on Wednesday, and we will have the conversation then as well. And so you can call back then. Whew, we're gonna have to increase time or something. People like, I can watch 2-hour show with as many calls as we have. It should really probably be 2 hours and a half, but people be talking like they have ADHD and all kind of strange things. But anyway, I want to thank everybody who called in. I want to thank everybody for all the insight and everything that was provided today, and that is always provided when we have these conversations about ADOS-ness and everything that comes with that. I appreciate it, you know, from everybody. Please hit that like button for me, fam. If you have not already hit that like button, please hit it on your way out like you are hitting the light switch. Bam! Just knock it out. Please do that for me. Also, please, you can go to subscribetobrown.com just to add your name to the mailing list. You can go to donatebrown.com to donate. You can do that. You can go to patreon.com/ycarnell to make a monthly donation. And please do all that stuff. Thank you, Black Sand, and thank you everybody else who donated tonight. Sometimes I see it at the corner of my eye, but I don't really see the name, so I can't really speak on it, but I appreciate it. Also, make sure you hit that bell. If you have not hit that bell, hit that bell. And remember what I said when Affirmative Action was white. That's gonna be our next book club book. I will put the date up soon, but just so you all know and you can start reading and all that good stuff. Please, 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 please do that for me. I would appreciate it. And we're gonna that book is gonna be a conversation. I'm gonna try to open the phones up earlier for that book, because that book is really, really, really going to be a conversation that you know, I always recommend the book, but I don't always talk about. We never really did a book club on the book, and I've read the book, I've read that, but I'm gonna go back and reread it so that I will be fresh for the book club. Anyway, fam, thank you everybody. I appreciate it. And those of you all who have been doing really, really good work on Twitter and everything, I appreciate it. Those of you all who are I've got a message from you all who are trying to get your footing in terms of having this debate with people. There's some really good people on Twitter too who are doing some really good work. So, write stuff down. One of the things that I want to say is that, if you want to debate people, you have to understand the material. You have to understand the source material. You have to understand where it comes from. You have to just hit at the gut of it. A lot of what people like to do is just try to hit us on a bunch of word salad garbage that don't mean nothing. So make sure you hit at the core of what needs to be hit at, and we are providing enough information to give that kind of political foundation. So thank you, fam. I appreciate it. Please finish your libations and get some sleep. We will talk next time.